Hey everyone, welcome back to Daily Downshift. My name is Orest. We are clearly straying away from the usual Corvette CA content to cover the new Nissan that is set to come out as a 2021 model. I am speaking, of course, about the Nissan 400Z. In case you have not seen, Nissan has finally leaked a teaser video of the model, and from what I can tell, it truly does take on the shape of the Datsun 240Z. In general, it looks like manufacturers are really stepping it up, and I'm honestly all for it. So the predecessor to this vehicle, the Nissan 370Z, came out around the same time as the GTR in the year of 2008. So it's definitely due for a full refresh. The asking price of this fully redesigned Z car will be below $40,000 USD, which seems to make sense as the 370Z starts around $31,000 and it goes up from there depending on the transmission and the trim level that you opt for. Additionally, sources close to the brand have confirmed that it will be a rear-wheel drive configuration just like every other model before it. And finally, the transmission. Prospective buyers will have the choice of a 6-speed manual or a Nismo-tuned automatic transmission, which should be a 7-speed. To move into the performance category, the 370Z currently utilizes a 3.7-liter V6 that has a total output of 332 horsepower. As of right now, reports are stating that this new 400Z should use the exact same 3-liter V6 twin-turbo from the Infiniti Q60, which is very fitting because Infiniti is obviously owned by Nissan. I would go even further and guess that this new model will probably have around 300 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque, just like the Q60. More than likely though, the Nissan team will probably tune it slightly so that it has more power than the outgoing 370Z. But I doubt that they would go too high. However, there's actually a rumor that the base model will have around 400 horsepower, just like the Infiniti Red Sport, and the more performance-oriented Nismo version would go on to have about 480 horsepower. Now that would be incredibly fitting as it's most likely going to be called the 400Z, so the 400 horsepower would match perfectly. But again, I'd be quite surprised if the base model came with 400 horsepower. And if the Nismo version has such a high power output, then I think it comes dangerously close to GTR territory, which just wouldn't make much sense. I know they're way overdue for a complete rehaul on the GTR, but I still think that those figures are a bit too similar to the GTR, seeing as how the 2008 model came out with exactly 480 horsepower. Just to give you some more interesting facts, global trademark filings have revealed that Nissan is probably rebranding their logo. But specific to this model here, they will also be using a Z badge that looks identical to the 240Z, which is done in what's called a serif font. To be honest, it's probably the most visually appealing letter Z that I've seen in my entire life. Moving on from here, there was speculation that the car is clearly inspired and heavily influenced by the 240Z. Right away you can tell that this highly anticipated sports car has a very similar silhouette to the 240, and I can even clearly see that sloped roofline. The final bit of information is that it should be debuting in green, which is probably a throwback to the 240, but it's also something many car manufacturers have strayed away from. So this should be very interesting. Personally, I think the Supra was a bit of a letdown, so let's hope that they do well by this one. This is one of Nissan's original production cars that goes back to the time when the brand used to be called Datsun. The Z lineage began all the way back in 1969, and by taking such heavy design cues from the 240Z, you know that they have no choice but to knock this one out of the park. I also have a strange feeling that the interior will be familiar, but I guess we just have to wait and see on that one. So that's going to do it for me. Thank you to everyone for watching. Let me know in the comments below if you think this is the right move for Nissan. Furthermore, do you think that the base model is actually going to offer 400 horsepower? Because I just don't believe this speculation. Either way, if you enjoyed our content, I would appreciate if you consider subscribing, and while you're at it, give us a thumbs up as well. I'll see everyone in the next one. Stay safe.